morning, everybody. How's everyone today? So today's Friday. Wow. So we're going to put together a little bit of lentil soup with miso, and we're going to talk about all of that. So glad to see everybody on here today. So I'm going to start with cutting up the onion, which is what I usually do when I start my soup every day. And this, of course, is just a pot with water. I use the wok because it's easier for people to see what's in it when I'm cooking. A lot of my videos have me working with other pots, and it is kind of hard to see in if it's a deep pot. So I'm just scoring the onion here and getting it on high. As most of you know, I always start my soups with an onion, nearly always. It just really brings out the flavor. And so going with the onion here, which is being slippery today for some reason. So I'm just gonna, normally I score it, I use a whole onion and I'll score it. But in this case, it's very slippery and slidey, and I'm not really sure why, but the skin is super slick. So so it'll be a little bit more of a chopping session here, and get that onion all in there. Okay, so we'll get the onion sauteing, and of course I always wash all my, good morning, darling. Always wash all my fruits and vegetables before I put them in the fridge so that everything is clean and ready to go. Because if you know, so often you are tired at the end of the day and you look in the fridge and you think, oh, I don't really feel like taking all these vegetables out and washing them and then, you know, putting it all back in and everything. That's like 20 minutes added to the meal right there. So it's always such a huge benefit to wash your vegetables first before you put them in the fridge. And so what we're going to do is add these carrots, onions, carrots, and get these going, because then we're going to work with the lentils, which will take a little while. So we have some other things to do while we're working with the lentils, waiting for them to cook. So just adding a carrot here, and I'm going to add another carrot there. Everything seems to be jumping on the floor this morning. I don't know what's with that. The carrots and the onions are just flying. Okay, so there is that. And there we go. So we can just get these guys in here. Get them going on high, and then we'll add some celery and put the more tender vegetables. I'm just going to scoop it like this. My hands are clean, just washed them. Okay, so, oh, thank you. Yeah, I really like this top, and happy Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. I think, you know, I don't know how many people are working right now, but I know everybody's always happy to see Friday come around anyway, whether you're actually working or not. So, yeah, and it just seems like the time is just going so fast. I just can't believe it. It seems like just yesterday it was Sunday. We usually go for walks every Sunday, and it just seems like that was, you know, just a couple days ago. It's just, the time is just flying. And it's been like that for the last couple of years, but it seems like even now, you know, I guess with people losing track of time and with everything that's going on. So I'm going to leave this on high and then talk about the, what we're going to add is we're going to add the miso. And so normally what I do is I'll add a miso paste, which is paste. And it comes in a little miso container. It has a little cellophane on top. I'm not exactly sure why. And but I always put it back. And so the miso is super good for you. It's a fermented food. It has really good for the colon. It's got like the probiotics for your intestinal bacteria. It's got vitamin K, it's got manganese, it's got copper. It's really, really good for because of the fermentation. It has a lot of B vitamins. That's what I was trying to think of. It has the B vitamins, and it's a good source of iron. And it also has, it's a really good source of protein too because of the soybean, right? So it has protein. So it's just a really good fermented product. And for whatever reason, I don't really know why. I know with most fermented things you wouldn't want to heat them. And I'm not exactly sure why they stand up well in the heat, because everybody knows about miso soup. And so it does stand up well in the heat. So we're going to use miso for our seasoning, but I found this, which is I've got onions on my hands. It's a chickpea miso. And so it's made of chickpeas. So I'm going to try that today because it's different. I just found out about it. Same process. It's the same natural fermentation. Just looking, it's got, this particular one has koji rice koji. It says rice koji spores. And completely organic, of course. But so it's a chickpea, obviously fermented with rice. And so that's really different. And I know there's it's dropped right out of my head. There is a fermented rice also that's really good. Anything fermented provides all of those probiotics and all of those healthy bacteria for the intestinal system and the immune system. And so that's the chickpea. So it looks a little different. So I'm excited to try it. This one here, the regular miso, has like a teriyaki taste, and this one it has a salty taste. It just tastes like beans, you know, very bland, but with the salty flavor. And so with either one of these that you use, you don't need much salt with it, if any. Probably with this one, none. So I'm not going to add any to this until afterwards and I find out how salty it is. So, and the other thing is, I am going to, just for the sake of not boiling the miso, I'm going to wait until the end to add this. But I just want to talk to you about the miso and what the properties and benefits are before we go on to the rest of the soup. So I'm just getting these, I don't know if you guys can see this, the typical onions, celery, and carrots on. And hi everybody. And so yeah, so we're going to go on to getting those carrots just a little bit more cooked. I don't want them super cooked because it's always good to have your vegetables a little raw, but I do like the onions quite cooked. So with the we're going to give that another second, and what we're going to do is we're going to be adding lentils. These are the red lentils, so they cook really fast, and you can buy the green lentils are typical. Recently I ran across French lentils, and there's a I think there's a black lentil too. So I'm in the you know, kind of finding the different kinds of grains and lentils and things. So we're going to add the red lentils. So I'm going to, well, maybe I am. Okay, let's do it. Let's just, I'm looking at the carrots, and there's a couple that I didn't cook that I didn't cut very thin. And of course, the thinner you cut them, the faster they'll cook. The thicker you cook them, the slower they'll cook. So we're going to, I didn't bring a measuring cup, which I should have done. So let's just grab a spoon and kind of do it like this, because I don't want to get steam in the lentils. Okay, so what my goal is here, measuring cups with a tablespoon. That's my goal. My goal is for it to be like a cup of lentils. So I don't know, say when, you guys. I think that's probably a cup. One more, just in case. Okay, let's go for that. Nobody around here really cares who's going to know the difference anyways. So, yeah, so that's the lentils. So Now that we have the lentils in, we really need to be adding more water, obviously, for the lentils to cook. So we'll add this, and it'll take a while, you know, probably 15 minutes. So this may not be completely cooked when we finish, but I will put all the other ingredients in so that you can see what's going on here. And then we'll take pictures later, and my little tiny workspace here. We'll take pictures later and show you how it turned out. Okay, so again, this is on high, and what we'll do is we'll cut up everything else. We're going to add cabbage. You guys have seen me cooking cabbage like seriously a lot the last 2 weeks. But during these times when we're shopping less and we want to not be going to the grocery store very often, cabbage is one of those things that you can buy and it'll last a really long time. I'm just looking at which side to cut here. So, you know, it's so versatile and it's so good for you. Like we were saying before, the last week we were saying that the green cabbage has more vitamin K, and although it's a good source of vitamin C, and then the red cabbage has more C and not as much K. Anyway, super good for you. Again, it's a cruciferous vegetable, you know, vital for the colon. Like really, cabbage is just such a cheap, really cheap and inexpensive way to, you know, to have a healthy food. And then we were talking too about the red cabbage having all the antioxidants as goji berries, and a lot less expensive than goji berries, but equally as important. Okay, so just cutting up the cabbage here, and yeah, cabbage is just so good to add to the soup. Okay, so we're just going to add this, and then keep it on kind of a simmer because I don't want the cabbage really overcooked, but I need to cook the lentils. So we're going to just keep that on like a simmer and keep an eye on it. The other thing I'm going to add, of course, again, is the beautiful kale. You know, when you're, again, kale grows like dandelions. It grows like weeds. And so, so everyone honestly should be growing kale. As I've said before this week, kale is the most nutrient-dense plant that you can possibly eat, and that's why it has such a good reputation in smoothies and all kinds of things. You know, kale chips, kale treats, kale everything, and so because it's so nutrient rich. And so when you put it in the in anything, in your soups or anything, it just adds that much more to it. And plus, the kale really needs to be broken down in order for us to absorb the nutrition, because it's got tough cell walls. And so, yeah. So again, you know, I feel like I'm repeating myself the whole time, but these are, in these times where people are stressed about money and that kind of thing. You know, groceries and money and everything, honestly, you guys can get some kale, you know, kale seeds. I happen to have a ton of kale, little baby kales coming up all over my garden. So if anybody needs kale for free, I will give you some plants. And so it's a super inexpensive thing, easy to grow, and a cheap, well, I shouldn't say cheap, but an inexpensive vegetable to add to everything. Add it to your smoothies, add it to your soups. You can dry it, you can make kale chips out of it, you can do pretty much anything with it. So I encourage everyone to get kale and use it, because you know, it's such an easy thing for anybody to have in their gardens. So we're adding the kale. The other thing is collards, which I'm new to. I just grew these last year, and the collard leaves are it just flew out of my mind. They're similar to oh my gosh, they're similar to the cabbage anyways. Yeah, isn't that funny? I have done a lot of lectures in the past and a lot of teaching over the last 25 years. And it's not very often that I go blank, but I do remember one time when I was on the stage and I had heard of going blank. I had never experienced it. And everything flew out of my head, like everything. There was nothing there. There was not a thing that I could think of. And so, you know, it's always good to have lots of props or other things to talk about, because it was just the strangest thing. It was just a complete blank. In this case, it's just a little memory loss. So, because I do know what colors are good for, I just can't remember. I need a little more ginkgo. So if you guys don't know what ginkgo is, ginkgo biloba is a herb. Really good for the memory. The other thing that's really good for the memory and has been studied for Alzheimer's is rosemary as well. Very good for the brain. And I always like to separate those guys so that you can kind of see what's the different way it's coming together. Okay, and I do have a little bit of cauliflower left, so I'm going to add the cauliflower. Actually, you know what? I'm going to set it aside just because I don't want it cooked really. These guys are a little tougher cell walls, so they can take a little bit more heat without breaking down. Okay, so we're going to add the shiitake mushrooms. Okay, we talked about shiitakes last week, and I used all my fresh ones. So these are dried. You can get them. They're not that expensive. You can get them like at pretty much anywhere where there's an ethnic food section in the store. So I'm going to break these up, and I do find that they are chewy, and I find the stems super chewy, like a little too chewy. So I don't put the stems in with the dried. I do put the stems in with the fresh. But anyway, so the shiitakes are really good for the immune system. They are good for blood circulation, open up the circulation, the arteries, good for the heart. They've been studied for viruses, antiviral. They've been used for in HIV treatments. Oh my gosh, high blood pressure, all kinds of things. And so I encourage you, whenever you're making soup, whatever you can add that is extra and that is healthy for you, add it to the soups. So, or whatever it is that you're cooking, whatever you're cooking. I'm going to add a little bit more of these guys because they're so like super beneficial. And so these are really tiny. These ones I got last time, but you can get them in a bigger. They come bigger, the dried. And like I say, pretty inexpensive. They have a nice chewy flavor that adds a texture to the soup, and a little. They've got a little bit of that miso kind of flavoring too. I'm not going to stir that because it looks so pretty the way it is. Okay, the other thing we're going to add here, we talked about this, I don't know, a week ago. Seaweed, super important, trace minerals, good against radiation. And I did put my little kitchen scissors here. Where did they go? Kitchen scissors, where are you? Well, I'm going to try and break it off. Because these guys, this particular one is a kombu, and so it's a little tougher to break off. But anyway, seaweeds, radiation, and all the exposure that we get to radiation right now, and with more and more coming, you know, I don't know much about the whole 5G thing, but it sounds frightening. And so anyways, seaweed, that's what they used for... in Japan for the radiation explosion thing that happened with the earthquake and all that. So your seaweed is really, really super important anytime you can get it into yourself. And so with adding the shiitakes, really beneficial for your health. So, and it adds a nice flavor too. Okay, so there's another seaweed here. This is just captured. This is captured by my brother-in-law, who so kindly went out to Way Beyond the Broken group and gathered seaweed from out in the open waters. So if you are going to gather seaweed, make sure that it's in a place that is free of pollution. Although, you know, I mean, the seaweed transforms radiation and cleans a lot of things up. So it probably would be okay, but you just want to make sure you don't collect any in a polluted area. I just want to show you how pretty that looks. So, okay, so we've got our seaweed, and we're going to add the little bit of garlic, granulated garlic. We're going to add some cayenne, because I always love adding cayenne. I'll put that in the watery side, and then I have so many interesting things that come into my mind. Okay, we're gonna add nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is has all kinds of protein, vitamins, minerals. It's super important for anybody who is vegan. It is usually fortified with B12. It has B vitamins, but the B12 is not really absorbable in it unless it's added to it. You'll have to look that up. That's how I understand it. And it has a cheesy flavor, so this is going to add like a richness. It has a thickening ability to thicken the soups and add a really beautiful cheesy flavor with a really deep texture. So if you have not tried nutritional yeast, I definitely would. It has all kinds of stuff, potassium, iron, and really, really good for you. I don't know if you can see how that's bubbling. It's bubbling up in 2 spots. Okay, there's what we have so far. And I'm going to have to give it a stir. Okay, anything else? Oh, turmeric. We might as well, right? If we're going to go healthy, we might as well go all the way and add the turmeric as well. Everybody knows it's anti-inflammatory. It's going to give a beautiful orange color. It will stain everything orange. And so with the turmeric, we need to add the black pepper again. So this is going to be a really healthy immune system lentil miso soup. Okay, well, I'll give it a stir now. Mix it all together. And, oh, I'm going to show you. You can see those lentils are breaking down already, so they don't take very long. Okay, so they're not quite ready, but almost. So all I need to do really is shut this off and let it simmer, or turn it down, let it simmer, because I don't want my vegetables overcooked. Can you see that? So, okay, so I'm going to add my cauliflower now, because I'm not going to be cooking this too much more. And so the cauliflower will be very fresh. Okay, give you another look. So, yeah, so doesn't it look amazing? I have to look again. I just love the colors. The colors of real food is just super exciting. Oh, yes, and so then we're going to add the chickpea miso to it too with another clean spoon. So, and then again to taste, like this seems to be pretty salty, so this is a big dish of food, and I'm only going to add a heaping teaspoon actually. And then taste it after and see how salty it is. Okay, so there we go. So that's our that's the soup of the day. For the people that just came on, it's what we did was we started with onions, celery, carrots, and then we added cabbage, and then we added kale and collards and shiitake mushrooms and seaweeds and miso and nutritional yeast and turmeric. And doesn't that sound like a health supplement itself? It is. It's a health supplement soup. Okay, so we're not going to overcook it too much. We're just going to leave that on low for a little bit. And yeah, you can see how the turmeric does really change everything quite yellow. So the other thing I wanted to show you guys, if we've got time real quick, I have two things to show you. And I can't decide what to do first. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about enzymes because we did... Hi! Oh, that's great. Yeah, it looks really good. Huh? It's the vegetables, right? They're so brightly colored when they aren't overcooked. Okay, so enzymes. We talked about enzymes, I think, yesterday, about how there are enzymes, digestible enzymes and other enzymes in all fruits and vegetables. And if you are having digestive problems and you are eating food that does not have its enzymes, so like when you bite into an apple and it turns brown, the enzymes in the whatever the vegetable is or the fruit is breaking itself down. So if you're having digestive issues, make sure that you are doing something like the fermentation, the probiotics. This is an amazing product, and I know it looks backwards to you guys because I haven't figured out how to be able to see questions and comments without doing a selfie movie. So anyway, this is called a wild brine live shot, and you can buy these at Healthy Habits, excuse me, or any health food store. And it's like the juice of kimchi or the juice of raw fermented sauerkraut. It's like fermentation juice. And this is amazing for providing that beneficial bacteria in the colon. And it just, you know, really good for your intestine, for your stomach, for everything. I highly suggest, if you have digestive issues, this can be really helpful. And the other thing is digestive enzymes. You can get digestive enzymes that help you to digest too. So if you experience gas, bloating, or whatever that is, that makes you want to take a Rolaids or a Tum, which is like does the reverse of what you really want it to do, even though it feels like it's working, it's really causing a lot of problems. So I suggest that you go buy it either through food. Ideally, number one, food is medicine. Or get some enzymes, or start doing some fermented foods or products. The other thing I was going to show you, and maybe we'll do this later because I'm already running out of time, but what we were going to do is I have a pot with distilled water, and I'm going to make a throat spray with cloves, ginger, cinnamon, and sage. Whoops, there you go, I dropped it. So anyways, we'll do that next week. Okay, so thanks for coming, you guys. Thanks for hanging out, making soup of the day, and learning a few more things, and getting a few reminders on all of the good healthy additions that we can add to our soups to stay healthy. So anybody else on here? Okay, so put your questions on Facebook, and whatever you might want me to share or to share or explore with you. And I have a whole bunch of other recipes on my YouTube page, or my YouTube channel, which I'm upgrading. I'm learning more about that, and so I have like, I don't know, 150 videos on there, but I'm gonna tag them now. That's my summer job. Okay, see you guys Monday, and thanks for hanging out. You can go to georginacyr.com for more recipes and inspiration.